What is going on, guys? SelvsLeaderCarson here. I am now doing the Lore of Kavasta. The Lore of Kavasta is, in my view, the more tragic one. It is more of how let's just say how a normal person rises to become a hero. And the one I really like to talk about more than even Cendius or Mathiel's lore. But I'm going to really get to the point of it. Let's get this show on the road. And here we are, the planet of Tython, near the Jedi Temple, where Kavasta actually has very close ties to, and he really feels pretty much at home, and he likes this place. So let's get to the point of why you're here. Who is Kavasta? Where is he born? Who is his parents? What's his personality and power? What's his background? I want to know the history about him, and where is he now? So we're going to start with when Kavasta was born. Kavasta is, many people are going to assume, oh, Kavasta must have been born on Coruscant, Kavasta must have been born on Alderaan, Kavasta must have been born on Tython. Well, they didn't discover Tython until after the Great Galactic War, so you can't really much use that, so that's out of the option. And no, he wasn't born on a city planet. It wouldn't make sense for how Kavasta became who he is in his lore. So, we're going to talk about, and he wasn't born on Alderaan, although that would have been a good guess, but no. Kavasta was actually born on a very popular KOTOR 1 and 2 planet. If you know this planet, you will know the culture, the agriculture, the area, and all that stuff. He was actually born on Dantooine. And yes, he was born on Dantooine. So, let's see. I gotta do my math right again. So, -8, because the Great Galactic War started on 3681. So, Kavasta was born 8 years after the Great Galactic War started. He was born in 3673. So Kavasta's pretty much 20 at the end of the Great Galactic War ends. But when the Cold War ends, he's 29 years old. So he's a very young Jedi Master, you could say. He's not, well, yeah, we're gonna get into that later. But let's talk into the early background and the history of Kavasta. So, how did Kavasta become a Jedi, and how did he get Force-sensitive powers? Well, his family he was actually born far away from the war. He didn't experience the war until it came to him. So he was born as a farmer, really, and his family were farmers too. His father was a veteran in the Great Galactic War, and he decided to retire and rest because he got he got really tired from fighting and all that killing. He didn't want to be a part of it anymore. So he settled down on Dantooine, and he married his wife. And we don't know their names. The only thing we do know is that last names were Ebonlocke, and that's Kavasta's last name, Kavasta Ebonlocke. And he pretty much was living a normal, simple life. But we're not going to get into that. Mr. and Mrs. Ebonlocke is Kavasta's parents. That's all we know about them. And the only thing I actually can mention this. The only thing we know about Mr. and Mrs. Ebonlocke is Mr. Ebonlocke was in his late 30s, early 40s, and his wife was about maybe her mid-30s at the time. But back to the point. Kavasta was living a farmer's life, and his parents were living a farmer's life too. They didn't know Kavasta was Force-sensitive at all. They didn't know this anytime soon. So, during this time, Kavasta is living a normal farmer's life. He's enjoying the peace. He's enjoying life because he's not experienced the war or any kind of conflict at all. He's pretty much living in his own kind of utopia in a way. Of course, he has to do his own chores. His father teaches him how to defend himself in case somebody does attack him or gangs up on him, which is very respectful of his father to do that. Hold on. I'm going to do something real quick. There we go. Sorry, I can't do it unless I see the screen. Now, anyways, but Kavasta I think he was at this time, this is when the Great Galactic War actually comes at their doorstep. Kavasta's 10 at this point. So, during 3663, Kavasta 10 years before the Great Galactic War ends, by the way, Kavasta sees a bunch of people coming by, scouting, looking at the farmhold that his parents are looking at, and he reports this to his dad. His dad gets a little worried at this point. His dad is telling him, do you know what they look like? Do you know what they think like? Do you know what they were talking about? Did you hear him? He said, no, I only saw him at the distance. His dad gets a little suspicious, and then the next day after, it is a group of raiders. Raiders decided to attack Kavasta's home, and Kavasta's father, Mr. Ebonlocke, ordered his son to go hide in the barn where all the animals are. Well, all the other farm animals are at this time. So Kavasta hides in the barn and does what his dad tells him to, and his mother hides in the house. Kavasta's dad tries to fight off so many of them. He's outnumbered because the raiders were probably like in a group of 20, 25, and Kavasta's dad is actually able to kill like about 7 to 9 of them. 7 to 9 of them. Probably there were 2 were wounded, or one of them was seriously wounded and then died later. But during this time, this was really making the raiders worry, because they really thought these farmers were going to be easy picking. They were going to easily take whatever they want, rape the wife and all that stuff. But moving on, this is what had a huge influence on Kavasta's life, a huge impact. Kavasta sees his own dad killed right in front of him, and the one who kills him is actually a Sith. And how do we know it was a Sith? Well, we could tell because he was wearing the Sith Empire insignia or banner or sigil, whichever you want to call it, on his right arm, and you see a red lightsaber, which signifies he was definitely a Sith Lord. He kills his father, Mr. Ebonlocke, in cold blood after his father tries to fight him off as long as he can to make sure, or to drive him away, because he originally thought it was just raiders. And this was just a scouting party, if you're just curious on why that was there an Imperial force during this time when the Battle of Dantooine doesn't happen yet. Yeah, we'll get into that later. And when Miss Ebonlocke sees her husband dead, she tries to fight the Sith herself, just using her fist. She doesn't have any weapons. She's unarmed, and the Sith just laughs at her. But when she takes a good sock right into his jaw, the Sith Lord gets so annoyed, he cuts her down too, right in front of Kavasta's eyes. And he's hiding. He can see just a small, hole, like a small hole in the barn, just to see what happens, seeing what's happening. And the Sith Lord is luckily to have not burned down the barn, because he burns down the house because he was outraged. He still had his anger released out in him and wanted to make sure that this family, there was no evidence that they were here. So they burned down the farmhouse, but they didn't burn down the barn, the family house, but they didn't burn down the barn, which really is lucky on Kavasta's part. He didn't die at that time. But let's get to an important part now. This is very crucial in Kavasta's life. Kavasta is at this point broken. He's sad, depressed. He has lost his parents. He has no home. His home has been burnt down, and is pretty much on his own at this point. He's only 10 at this point. He's on his own. He's got nothing to live for or to survive for. But he's just he feels like he's lost the will to live. And if you're wondering why Kavasta is wearing that armament, I'm going to get to that later, okay? So don't ask. So, why does Kavasta feel like he's lost the will to live? He's just lost his parents. He can't really take care of himself. And all he has to do is still try to take care of these farm animals that he's been raising with his parents. And he has no other living relatives that he knows of yet, or knows that are alive. And the only thing he can remember is that Sith Lord. We don't know the Sith Lord's name, by the way. The only thing we know is that Kavasta does go hunt him down, not out of vengeance, but out of justice, to bring back, to pretty much avenge his parents, but also defend millions, thousands of people that the Sith Lord would later place in danger. But I'll talk to that later. But the crucial part of Kavasta's life happens right here. a Jedi Master is passing by. He feels a presence in the Force. He feels somebody is Force sensitive. But what he sees is he sees the burned down farmhouse, and he sees the barn is still intact. But he sees a figure is moving by. So the Jedi Master, we don't know his name, by the way. We only know he's called the Jedi Master. He moves to the barn house and sees the boy right there, like collapsed, tired, and exhausted. Because it's been 3 days after the raid on Kavasta's farm and his home. So he's pretty much had nothing to eat for 3 days. That's exhausted him and tired him out. The Jedi Master asked Kavasta what had happened here. Kavasta, with all the strength he could muster in his voice, saying, "Raiders and a Sith attacked my family. They killed my parents and burned my home down. I have nothing left to do with my life." The Jedi Master replied saying, "You do have something to do. The Force is strong within you, and you have a role to play. Come with me, and I will give you a chance to see justice to your parents, and to defeat the Sith and bring true peace back to the galaxy." Kavasta looked at the Jedi Master's hand, who was just reaching out and offering his hand to pick him up and everything. Then Kavasta looked at the hand, and then at the Jedi Master's face, and the hand again, and with all the strength he could use, he grabbed the Jedi Master's hand, and the Jedi Master lifted him up, and they went together off Dantooine. And in order for Kavasta to actually pay for the ticket to actually get off the planet, he actually had to sell all the farm animals, so he's pretty much left penniless at this point. But the Jedi Master decides to take Kavasta to not Tython, but to Coruscant, since this is still the Great Galactic War. And during those 3 years, Kavasta learns to use the way of the Force. He is still probably like 13 at this time. He's a little bit too older than he should be, but they're taking in whatever they can at this point. Kavasta pretty much is remembering that the Sith Lord's face and his red lightsabers, and his lightsaber himself, the lightsaber itself. He remembers it every day, not for vengeance, but to remember what the Sith Lord looked like, and if it was the specific Sith Lord that he was looking for. So Kavasta actually does everything right. He's learning the Force right, and he's doing everything he can. And eventually he becomes a Padawan, right when he's 16. This is like 4 years before the Great War ends. The Jedi Master decides that Kavasta is still too young to go into battle. He's like 16 or 17 at this time. We can assume he's 16 or 17. We don't know the exact age he was, but we know he was in his mid or late or heading to his late teens. The Jedi Master that we have, Kavasta actually, this is going to be another unique case. Kavasta has more than one Jedi Master. He actually has a total of 3 Jedi Masters that train him. They all give him different philosophies on how to use the Force, how to use lightsaber combats, and why they are fighting for the Republic and what it means to be a Jedi. I apologize, folks. I apologize. I'm still trying to read up on the races, but I actually figured out the lore of Kavasta's characters. Sorry about that. The specific races. The first master that he actually had was a Rodian female. Sorry, I was trying to remember. We don't know her specific name, as it was too hard to, as Kavasta claims, it was too hard to pronounce, but he called her Miss Rodie. Miss Rodie, even though she didn't like that name, she still went along with it. The Jedi Master Rodian really took her under his wing and tried to keep him away from battle, because according to her philosophy, she said that she didn't want to scar Kavasta, as Kavasta seemed already scarred. As she could feel the scar in Kavasta itself, she could feel the wound that was in him. And he didn't want to scar him even further, or even make that wound even bigger. So she wanted to do is heal him in a more passionate way, more like in a serene way. Sorry, not passionate. That's a Sith thing. My bad. yeah, she tried to heal him by making him explore planets, learning new races that were not near battles at all, that were more in the safer areas, and learning cultures. Kavasta actually was distracted by this, actually, and he enjoyed learning these new cultures and languages, and even in their philosophies. What her idea, the lightsaber technique that she tried to teach him was Sorosu, which everybody knows very well. She tried to teach him Sorosu because she wanted him to be very defensive and to not lust into battle at all. And she's very much believes in this kind of philosophy. She believes the Force is a living being. Is not a living being, sorry. She believes that the Force is a part of your soul and that you can't separate your soul into two parts. You can't separate who you are and your soul. Your conscience and your soul. So what she does is try to bring into Kavasta's ideas that you can be who you are, but you have to remain who you are if you're willing to accept that. And Kavasta understood what she was saying. You have to be who you are and not let other things destroy you. But let me get to the next Jedi Master that Kavasta had. The next Jedi Master that Kavasta had, and if you're wondering what happened to the Jedi Master Rodian, she actually was later killed in battle because she was called to go fight in a specific battle before the Great Galactic War was ending, and she told Kavasta to stay in the Jedi Temple and learn. And probably about 2 to 3 weeks later, Kavasta finds out through message that she was killed in a battle, and that really had an effect on Kavasta because he really looked up to her and said that she could be like a stepmom to him because she was very caring. She was very caring to her. So Miss Rodie was never pretty much heard of again. She faded into history in a way. But the next master I'm going to get to is a Shireen master. His name was very hard to pronounce again, but if I had to go by it, it was more like Mar-Indris Verick, something like that, Mar-Indris Verick. But Kavasta always called him by his last name, Master Verick, and he wanted to teach Kavasta how to defend himself, but in a more calmful way of attacking. He said always to attack your enemies, but not out of rage or passion, out of hope and calm. Master Verick was very patient with Kavasta half the time, because Kavasta always kept using his former master's ideas. Master Verick's ideas were very different from the Rodian Masters, the Rodian Jedi Master's philosophy. He said that that you have your duty and your right to defend the Republic. You have to defend the Republic because it is your sworn duty to look after those who cannot look after themselves. And once again, that stuck to Kavasta because that personally affected him. He said that you have to defend others that can't defend himself, and Kavasta took that to heart. As his light sights point is at the very top, as you can see. He is all the way touched with the light. Is that mainly because I made him be that way? Pretty much, yeah. Okay, so let's move on. Yeah, but Master Verick, a year before the Great Galactic War ended, was called away to a Jedi to go fight in the Battle of Dantooine. Now, we don't know what happens to Master Verick. We assume he was killed in the battle because, according to a Jedi trooper, he said, and I quote, "I saw Master Verick. I saw his head get chopped off right in front of me." But there's actually been reports of him being alive, so we don't know if Master Verick is alive or is he dead. The only thing we do know is that he is MIA, as the Republic is choosing to say that he's either MIA or he's KIA. The next master he had was still a non-human. It was a Selkath master. This Selkath master was named Sha'Tean. Sha'Tean wanted to teach Kavasta the ideas of what a Jedi truly is. He wanted to teach him peace from within, as his philosophy was. If you don't have peace within you, you will never have peace as a Jedi. So he took him around the planet of Manon, even underwater, as he provided Kavasta the underwater gear, because if Kavasta tried to swim in Manon, he would probably drown. But moving on to the point, Kavasta tried to teach him peace from within, and what he did was a very different philosophy. Kavasta decided he wanted to have Kavasta face his inner demons by using the by staying in a Selkath meditation chamber where they were specifically reserved for Jedi, and what he did was made him meditate and face his inner demons, and his inner demons was that Sith Lord that he could still picture in his head, and his specific lightsaber, and Kavasta fought him, his inner demon, and pretty much defeated it. And when Kavasta woke up from his meditation, or his trance you could say, because he was put in a trance by the Selkath Master Sha'Tean. Kavasta said, "What was I facing?" Master Sha'Tean said his famous words, "You faced what you wanted to face." Those words really confused Kavasta at first, because he wanted to face the Sith Lord. But was he really facing the Sith Lord that he wanted to fight, or was he facing something even worse? Himself, which Master Sha'Tean quoted later saying, "You were fighting yourself." And the reason why he didn't tell Kavasta this, he tells him right at the very end before he leaves, we'll get to that last part too, is because he wanted Kavasta to learn the true meaning of peace from within. And the last master we're going to get to is a Mir-Luka master. This is right at the end of the Great Galactic War. Kavasta is like 20 at this time. She's pretty much at Yavin at this point. No, not Yavin, sorry, I'm getting my planets mixed up. She takes Kavasta to this planet. She takes him to Nar Shaddaa. And her name was Shireen Tinnis. Yeah, Shireen Tinnis. And it's spelled like this, Tinnis. Tinnis. Shireen Tinnis wanted to teach Kavasta how to stay in touch with the Force, how to be in touch with the Force, how to feel the Force within you, even if you can't teach it. And she did teach Kavasta a lot of lightsaber forms. She taught him Shicho, Taru, and a very restricted one. It was behind the Jedi Master's back. By the Jedi Council's back. She taught him, I believe it's called Vapad. And she taught him all those lightsabers because she wanted Kavasta to be prepared to fight anything, and to be ready to defend the Republic no matter what the cost was. So, why did Master Shireen I have problems remembering her name. Why did the Mir-Luka Master... Okay, I'm going to try to look. It was... I'm going to go with Master Tinnis. That's her last name. Why did Master Tinnis teach Kavasta all this stuff? Because she wanted Kavasta to be favoring as a Jedi Guardian, which he is, as you can see. He's a tank. But Kavasta wanted to understand what it meant to be blind. So, because, as you could see, Master Tinnis was a Mir-Luka, and she could only see through the Force. Kavasta was very confused and asked why the Jedi Council gave him this master. He said, what was her name? I'm trying to remember by heart. He asked Master Mathiel, why was I given this master? Master Mathiel actually replied, you were given Master Tinnis in order to see the Force in a different view. And what she did was, at Nar Shaddaa, she blinded Kavasta temporarily. It was very harmless. She blinded Kavasta and told him to see through the Force as she sees everything. And what Kavasta said, after using the Force to see, he said, I could never see the world again as I did before. So we don't know what Kavasta saw. The only thing we do know is he said it was very beautiful, but it was very, let's say, heart-filling. It was very heart-filling and mind-filling to see all this energy around him. So we don't know what he saw, but we do know he saw energy, as he quoted later. After the Great Galactic War ended, what happened during the the Clone War, during the Cold War. Well, Kavasta finally became a Jedi Knight, as the Master Tinnis apparently considered Kavasta trained enough, and knew what he had to do. So after convincing the Jedi Council to name Kavasta a Jedi Knight, they agreed on a vote of, let's say, 12 members. There was an 8 out of 12 people that voted yes to name Kavasta a Jedi Knight. And Kavasta was called by the Jedi Council and was said, "You are now to become a Knight of the Order." Kavasta knelt and said, "Am I worthy, though, to become a Knight?" This had a very huge effect on some of the masters, as they were wondering, why would Kavasta say he's worthy enough? Is he worthy enough to be a knight? He's earned it. But they later concluded that Kavasta felt he was not ready to be one, and he still had more to learn. And doing this, he finally was able to travel on his own, and the one thing he wanted to do, and he confessed right to Master Sha'Tean in a private conversation, saying, "I need to search for the Jedi Master that killed my parents. I know I cannot hold on to family, and there is no emotions, but he's never going to escape my mind, and I wish to fight him, not out of vengeance, but out of justice." She sensed that there was some emotion in him, and she reluctantly allowed him to go search the Sith Lord out. Kavasta searched the Sith Lord out almost for pretty much 3 years straight. He was searching for him, and after finally finding him, we can only conclude that Kavasta did come out victorious. But when Master Sha'Tean saw him, she said he was a changed man, but not in a bad way, more like if light, dark, and gray, the light side, the dark side, and the gray side, more like of a gray side, because Kavasta had decided to end this pain in his heart, in his mind, but it was more to finally be rid of the past. We do know one of the friends he actually makes is a Trandoshan, and his name is, I have to remember this. Give me a minute. It takes a while for me to remember. His name was Slick-Naksh. I think that's how you say it, Slick-Naksh, or something like that, or even Staxon, or I think it was Staxon. Yeah, it was Staxon. I'm trying to remember the lore by heart. I lost my paper with all the names I had. It was supposed to start with an X. Staxon actually met Kavasta, and when Kavasta decided to revisit Nar Shaddaa after the Mir-Luka Master Tinnis took him there. He ran into the Trandoshan, who was actually being assaulted by a bunch of Wookiee bounty hunters, and Kavasta actually defended the Trandoshan, and though the Trandoshan actually fought back with Kavasta, the Trandoshan later demanded to know why Kavasta stepped in, as he lost all his points to the scorekeeper. Yes, if you know the Trandoshan culture, that they have a scorekeeper, then you'll understand what I'm talking about. Kavasta said, "I was only defending a 5-against-1 fight. You may have lost, or may have even won, but you were not going to be able to take them all on at once." So Kavasta actually later befriended Sha'Tean, and he later regarded Kavasta as a good friend, because they went on more adventures, fighting more dangerous battles, monsters, and even Sha'Tean decided to align himself with the Republic after Kavasta convinced him to come over to the Republic side and fight to gain points. When Sha'Tean asked, "Why should I ally with the Republic?" Kavasta said, "If you kill Sith, would that not add points to the score on your score?" Sha'Tean later agreed and said, "I will fight for the Republic if it means killing Sith." And another friend he made was a male Mir-Luka. His name was Mar-Indris. Yeah, Mar-Indris. Marin actually befriended Kavasta. He was a Jedi, as Marin was a Jedi too. He's still alive. I shouldn't have said was, but to the point. Marin befriended Kavasta during his training days, and when Kavasta came to Tython to see the new temple being built, Kavasta actually met Marin and asked him where he came from. Marin said that he came from the Mir-Luka homeworld and wanted to learn the ways of the Force. The two of them spent at least 3 to 4 months befriending each other and became good friends with each other. I know I was going backwards from when it was supposed to end to the middle of it, because I felt like that's a huge 4 or 5 year gap that you should at least hear out. But this is the last friend he makes too, and both of them are still alive. Sha'Tean and Marin. Marin eventually becomes a knight because he's able to pass his trials so quick, and when he saves his master actually from a monster that was actually about to kill the Jedi Master, Marin is actually declared a Jedi Knight, and so Kavasta and Marin are pretty much at the same rank, but at this point Kavasta is a master at this point, and Marin is only 1 level below him. Yeah. So let's get to outside and go to the temples. Give me a minute. Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. Now then, Kavasta's personality. Well, he is a very tragic story to hear about. You get to hear how this guy was living a normal, happy life, and it's just taken away from him, and is given a second chance to having a purpose in life, because his purpose pretty much died when his parents died. His purpose to life pretty much died when his parents were killed by the Sith Lord. But now then, when we look at his personality, Kavasta's personality is very, very obvious. He's a heroic person. He's honorable, he's humble, he's kind, he's very generous. But he's very serious about the Force and the Jedi ways, because when he could have became a Sith for all we know, because with all that anger and rage built on him, he was able to find ways to calm himself, and actually avoid falling to the dark side. And it was because of the Jedi Master that founded him. Now I already found this, so don't even ask. I'm just trying to get a good view of this. Now when he believes in the Force as not as like a living being, but he knows that there is a Force. It's like the Master Rodian totem, like Master Rodie totem. That she said that the Force is a part of you, and you can't separate yourself with it. Now, he does take he takes his master's words all by heart. He believes in every single thing that they said, and he doesn't forget what they said or what they taught him. He holds his friends very close because to him those are the only family he's got, and he holds the Jedi Order very close because to him that's his big family that he doesn't want to lose. He treats all of his allies as friends, and he holds not a hate grudge against the Sith, but more of a I have to defeat them in order to make peace in the galaxy kind of grudge. He wears this armor as a remembrance of that though fear is around him, he will always do what is right. And he wears the mask because he says it makes him look cool. He does have a little bit of a comic relief in himself. But the last part I want to get to before I have to cut this video off is that his powers. He's very strong in the Force, but he doesn't really depend on the Force. He depends more on his lightsaber combats. He's more of a Jedi Guardian type than a Jedi Counselor. He really favors the styles of Sorosu, and he favors, when he has to, Ataru and Shicho. But if on a scale of 1 to 10, like 10 being like, let's say Yoda, Anakin Skywalker level, and 1 being maybe say a Jedi Initiate, Kavasta's level in the Force would probably be a 6 out of 10. He's not super strong in the Force, because if he was an 8 out of 10 like Revan, then that would be impressive. And the Sith Emperor Palpatine would be a 9. Kavasta is more of a 6 or 7 out of 10. He's not super strong in the Force, but he is powerful enough. Because remember, he did take on the Sith Emperor by himself and tried to kill him, but he was seriously wounded and he had to escape with his life. But other than that, he is a very noble, kind and humble being. And he never forgets that, because he knows where he came from and who his parents were and what they raised him and taught him to be like. But he also remembers what the Jedi taught him. So where is Kavasta now? Well, Kavasta is on Tython currently because he has to train the new Jedi, or the new Jedis of the generation. He needs to train them as like his masters taught him, and he's trying to train so many as fast as he can. I mean, he wants to train them fast, but make sure the knowledge sticks to them. This is his philosophy, and he never lets it go. But he always, if you want to ask which master had the bigger influence on him, it would be probably Master Tinnis, because she made him see the world, the galaxy, much bigger than anyone. And I think this is what made Kavasta have the huge influence in pretty much his life, or his heart, than he's ever expected. But he's now at Tython, and he's training new generation of Jedis every day. So I'm glad you guys watched my Lore of Kavasta. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll talk to you guys later. So bye-bye!